What's the last week or so look like for you? Obviously, a lot going on in those parts in Vegas.
Well, yeah, I was out there. We had development camp, get to know some of the younger players that will be our future. So that's always exciting time. Get back with the coaches. We had a little time off. Um, Mitch was in town looking at houses with his family, so good to meet him face to face. Welcomed him to the club, and now back in. I spent my summers in Cape Cod. Had a great day yesterday. We have a foundation I'm involved with. The golf outing went really well, so had a couple of our guys out: Jack Eichel, Noah Hannafin, Ray Bork stopped by. So it was a good day for everybody, and yeah, now it's time to relax.
Sounds awesome, Bruce. What was your first thought when you found out that it was official that Marner was coming to your team?
Well, we've added another, really good player to the mix. So, you know, talent wins, and it's the more you can get of it, the better. So excited. I've crossed paths with Mitch over the years when I was coaching the Bruins. Obviously, it's a playoff series. I was fortunate enough to be involved in the Four Nations, which he was a big part of. So we're excited to have him. I think he's going to add a lot to our team.
Yeah, what was that Four Nations experience like? Obviously, even seeing John Cooper there today at the Calgary Stampede with the Four Nations Cup, just celebrating a bit. But what was that experience in general like? And obviously coaching Mitch there too.
Yeah, Coop was having fun. Good for him. Enjoying the summer.
Yeah.
Uh, we had got together earlier to do a little Hockey Canada review, so it's good to see those guys as well. And yeah, listen, it was a short tournament, so you didn't get to know the players as much as you'd like. I mean, these are the best guys in the world. You'd love to spend more time with them, but I enjoyed Mitch. He's, was a real nice guy. All the guys there were, Coop had a game plan. They're real coachable and were willing to follow it, and then let them be themselves, right? So I thought it worked out great. We ended up winning. It was a very entertaining tournament. I don't think anybody knew going in
Mm.
how entertaining it would be, but I love being a part of it, and got to know Mitch a little bit, and obviously we'll get to know him better now.
Yeah, Bruce, I always like to ask a coach of your caliber these kinds of things. Obviously, you're trying to build, a team who has an identity and a certain DNA, and Vegas is obviously no exception. I think they, play a certain style without question, but the players aren't robots at the same time. What's your philosophy on getting everybody on the same page, even though there's so many individuals on a team?
Well, listen, everyone is treated the same and everyone's treated differently, right? I know that sounds strange, but there's some non-negotiables. I think every coach would say they'd like to adhere to. Whatever those may be. It's team first. It's discipline, puck management issues, practice habits, whatever. And there's other parts where certain guys are going to get more rope on the ice to be creative because that's what they need to do, and that's what makes them at their best. So, and then you balance that with the risk reward, time and score, and hopefully those top guys recognize that part of it. That you can't be completely on your own page. So that's the way I've always felt. I think the skill guys need a little bit of room and will make some mistakes because they're creative, but they'll bring a lot more than they give up, right? So that's kind of how we try to balance it, and it's the same with the other end, like the bottom of the lineup players. So whatever their strength is, hey, if a guy's a physical player and he takes the odd penalty because he's a little too exuberant, well, we got to live with that because he's a physical guy. So there's a little bit of that goes into every player, but at the end of the day, it's got to be team first. You play for the crest, and whatever's required from that. And that usually results a lot of times in probably time on ice, right? When you have a lot of good players, and you have to get them to understand that everyone has to have value on the team, and it might come at expense. A third or fourth liner, might need that extra minute or two, and it might come at your expense. And we've got to, that's the challenge of making that those elite players understand that's what usually makes a team tick.
I'm always curious. A star player like Mitch Marner becomes available. You're the head coach. I mean, do you let George and Kelly and company do their thing? Are you advocating? Are you saying like, yeah, he's pretty damn good. I'd love to have him on my roster. What's your role in this whole thing?
No, listen. There's so many good players in the league. I listen. I'm paid to coach, right? Stay in your lane, do your job. If I'm asked about a player that I haven't experience with, I'll give my opinion if I'm asked. But no, I've never been that guy. Maybe that's a product how I started a lot in the American League, and usually just, hey, here's your team, go to work, make it work. So that's how I approach it. again, you're asked about a player or a need maybe on your team. Hey, this is where I feel like we could use an upgrade. I'll give my opinion, but I mean, look at the success Kelly and George have had. I don't need to get in their way.
True.
They know how to build a roster, and my job's to coach that roster. So we've now that's not my area of expertise, and I try to stay out of it.
Hmm. Sounds like a good partnership. In our market in Toronto here, I think we almost unexpectedly got a nice asset in return for Mitch, as we thought he might just walk in free agency, and we managed to get Nichlas Wah back from you guys. And what can you tell us and the people in this market what we're getting in a player like him?
Well, he first of all, he's a great guy, great team guy, solid 200-foot player on our team. He was predominantly a fourth line center because we always had guys ahead of him, but I know that he's capable of more. And even now we have, Carlson, Eichel, and Hurdle. So it's tough to move up. And listen, we've played Nick on the wing here or there, but I think his best position is center. Real big part of our penalty kill. He's good in the circle. Played in our second unit power play down around the net. So he's got skill for a guy that plays down in the lineup. I think depending on who you play him with, he can adapt his game. When we had a few guys hurt, he moved up. Played with, I think it was Marchessault and Barbashev for a stretch, not this past season, the year before, and did a real good job, put up numbers. But at the end of the day, when we were cup champions, he was to me, a dominant fourth line center that played with Will Carrier and Colasar and just did a great job of playing to our identity every time he went over the boards, and sort of good guy that could tilt the ice back in your favor in terms of momentum, and guy that started every period for us. He played late in games, so a lot of value for a guy that was listed as a so-called fourth centerman, but I believe, and I don't know exactly, he's probably around 14 and a half, 15 minutes for us
Yep.
every night. We used him in a lot of different situations. Um, I don't know how it'll work out in Toronto. That's I'd be speaking out of turn to say anything, but I think he's a guy that could certainly move up in the lineup. Whether that happens or not, it'll be up to Chief to see where he best fits. But you're getting a really good player and a good person.
So, Bruce, you've coached plenty of stars in your great coaching career. How do you balance letting someone like Marner be creative while still holding him accountable?
Well, again, I think it's ice time. I've gone through this with a lot of different players over my career. It's my job to get him to understand what the team needs from him, and it's my job to understand what he needs to be successful, right? Like you can't just hammer away on a guy and believe that he's just going to do it, right? So I think there has to be, talked about it earlier, a good sort of feel for, okay, this is what I expect, this is what you need to do to be successful. That you got to make those ideas intersect for the good of the team. So I'm not going to get into too much because Mitch has been with us for 8 days. So at the end of the end of training camp or the beginning of training camp, we'll sit down, go over. Here's what the team at the start. Here's what the team looks like. Here's when we're at our best, and that's just got to play out. I mean, he's a very successful player in this league. He just won a gold medal at Four Nations. I think that was good for every star player to see that, like what it takes and the sacrifice, and so that'll be the challenge, and I don't see it being a problem for us. I think Mitch wants to win. He's been close, and hopefully brings us closer again.
Yeah, and last one for me. Obviously, there's nothing written in stone in this game, but in your mind, do you see Mitch playing with Jack Eichel off the bat?
Well, I mean, that's it's been asked that a lot. I mean, who knows? I mean, there needs to be chemistry first of all, and there might be some automatically, and there might be none. You never know. They're going to get an opportunity at some point, whether it's early on or later, to play together because you want to see what it looks like. Mark Stone was up there with Jack last year, pretty good hockey player, right? So we have Hurdle, we have Carlson. So he's going to get a good center. What's the best fit where he can play his game? They're both, I'll say this about Jack and Mitch, they're probably both distributors first. So it'll be interesting to see if they do play together. And I'm sure they will in situations, even if they're not in the same line, and see how that works out if, one of them becomes more of a shooter. But those questions will all get answered, as we go along. So, we'll see. I think they could, they both be good for each other in the sense that they've left markets and now are teammates. After leaving partway through their career as star players. So Jack went through it here, and Mitch is going to go through it. And I think Jack could be a real good shoulder to lean on in that regard. Mark Stone did it in Ottawa. So those are some things maybe off the ice and stuff that would be, Jack and Mitch will bond over. Whether they do that or not is up to them, but that's I'm sure that'll be discussed. And then moving forward, how it plays out on the ice again, I don't have an answer for you today on July 8th. I think we're in Toronto early on in the season, so we'll see how it goes by then, and probably have a much better idea how the two kind of complement each other on the ice.
Bruce, the schedule hasn't been released yet, so that's news to us.
Inside info, baby.
It hasn't come out yet, the schedule. That's insider info right there.
The first draft, because I wanted to see when the Olympic break was, right, to start planning things. So I think I saw us out there early on, but again, I'm 60, so my memory is not very good. So it might be later in the year. I don't know, but I thought it was early because don't forget, I'm from Ottawa, so I go see my family. So I always take a look at that one too, and it's usually right up there with Toronto. But anyway, we'll be there sooner or later. That much I know.
It's going to be one of 82. It's going to be one of 82. We could tell you that, and we'll find out, I believe, July 16th, the official schedule. And you're so right. There's a lot of drafts that go out there, so nothing concrete just yet. I just want to wrap with asking you about the similarities. Are there parallels to draw between like somebody like Jack Eichel and Mitch Marner? I mean, you know this market pretty damn well. You're from Ontario, a lot of heat, a lot of criticism, Marner's departure and all that. But Jack Eichel, along those same lines, took a lot of heat, and you coached him to a Stanley Cup a couple years ago, right? So, do you think there's some parallels to draw? Do you think there's some things you learned in coaching Jack Eichel that you can distribute over to Marner now?
Well, there are some similarities, right? But I don't know. I can't speak for either player. What they exactly went through. I just know what I know from being in the hockey world. So when Jack came over, now Jack is a Boston guy, so he would skate with some of our guys with the Bruins before he left for training camp. So those guys, you say hello, they're on the ice with your guys, so you get to know them a little bit. His skating coach was our skills coach. He used for a lot of his, when he was a teenager, was our skills coach. So Kimmer had a lot of great things to say about Jack. So I guess there was a bit of a head start coming in with that. But listen, as I said, to what degree they're leaving the market? Is it, you guys fill in the blank. Yes, they have gone through some level of similarity. And as I said, I think Jack, if Mitch is going through certain things, emotions from leaving that market, I think Jack would be a great guy to talk to about it. For the reasons you just talked about. So will I use that? I don't know. I think it'll come naturally for those two. They're both adults, and they'll be able to go through some of that stuff. Teammates talk about different stuff all the time, and I think that'll be good for Mitch to have someone who went through it. How it lands on my lap, well, that depends on our relationship, me and Mitch. Does he want to talk about that, or is it just hockey? And those are things you learn about a player quickly, and whatever works for your relationship you use. So with Jack, we did talk about it a bit because we had a third party buffer a little bit, as I said, that helped us sort of communicate better. And I don't think I'll have any problem communicating with Mitch. I've like I said, cross paths with him, great guy. I think he just, he wants to win. He's a hockey player. That's the common goal we're going to have.
Well, Bruce, the 10 looks great. Looking forward to July 16th, the schedule coming out. Appreciate your time and have a great summer, okay? Appreciate this.
Yeah, thanks. We had a family vacation to Greece, so we took advantage of the sunshine at the end of the year. So.
Attaboy. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.